Have you ever stood in the grocery store, staring at an entire wall of milk cartons, wondering which one is actually safe for your blood sugar? Because if you live with type 2 diabetes, you've probably heard completely different answers. Some people say milk is terrible for diabetes and should be avoided entirely. Others claim certain types of milk can lower blood sugar naturally. And then there are the endless advertisements promising that one special product can somehow reverse diabetes if you drink enough of it. So who should you believe? Well, what I'm about to share with you may surprise you, because the truth isn't sitting at either extreme. The reality is that some types of milk can cause your blood sugar to rise faster than you realize. In fact, many people are drinking them every single day without understanding what's happening inside their bodies. But at the same time, certain milk choices, when used correctly, may actually help sort steadier blood sugar levels throughout the day. And no, we're not talking about expensive miracle products or trendy health drinks. We're talking about options that may already be sitting on the shelves of your local grocery store. Now here's the part that really caught my attention. Researchers have discovered that the way you drink milk can sometimes matter just as much as the type of milk you choose. Imagine making one small adjustment to your breakfast routine and seeing a noticeable difference in how your blood sugar responds afterward. No complicated diet, no expensive supplements, no drastic lifestyle changes, just one simple habit that takes less than a minute. And according to some of the strongest research available, that small change could make a meaningful difference. Stay with me, because later in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that strategy is. And trust me, it's not what most people expect. Welcome back to Health with Dr. D. Miller. I'm Dr. D. Miller, and for nearly 14 years, I've spent my career helping people better understand nutrition, metabolic health, and the everyday choices that influence blood sugar control. My goal isn't to sell you a miracle. My goal is to help you separate facts from fiction, because when it comes to diabetes, misinformation is everywhere. Every week I see people confused by conflicting advice, wondering what they should eat, what they should avoid, and whether the foods they've enjoyed for decades suddenly need to disappear from their lives. The good news is that nutrition doesn't have to be complicated. Today, we're going to count down the 5 best milk choices for people living with type 2 diabetes, ranked from a solid everyday option all the way to the approach supported by some of the most impressive clinical research available. But before we begin, I'd love to know something about you. Tell me your age in the comments below. I read every comment, and it helps me create videos that are more relevant to where you are in life. Because what works at 45 may not be exactly what works at 75. Now let's get started. Let's begin our countdown with number 5. A choice that may be far more helpful than most people realize: lactose-free milk and ultra-filtered milk. Now, if you're someone who loves the taste of real milk, this is where you'll probably feel relieved. Because contrary to what many people have been told, having type 2 diabetes does not automatically mean you need to give up dairy forever. The key is understanding which type of dairy you're choosing. Here's why. A typical glass of regular cow's milk contains about 12 grams of natural sugar known as lactose. While lactose is naturally occurring and not the same as added table sugar, it still contributes carbohydrates that your body eventually converts into glucose. And when glucose enters the bloodstream too quickly, blood sugar levels can rise more than you'd like. This is where lactose-free and ultra-filtered milk begin to separate themselves from traditional milk. Ultra-filtered milk goes through a special filtration process that removes some of the lactose while concentrating the protein. In simple terms, you get more protein and less sugar in every glass. And that matters because protein slows digestion. Think of protein as a natural traffic controller. Instead of carbohydrates rushing into your bloodstream all at once, they're released more gradually, creating a smoother and steadier blood sugar response. Researchers have observed this effect in clinical studies. In one notable investigation, participants who consumed higher protein milk with breakfast experienced lower post-meal blood sugar levels compared with those drinking standard milk products. That may not sound dramatic at first, but when you repeat those smaller improvements day after day, week after week, they can begin to add up. Imagine someone like Linda, a 64-year-old grandmother who never wanted to give up her morning latte. Every morning she enjoyed the same routine, the same coffee, and the same breakfast. The only thing she changed was the milk. By switching to an unsweetened ultra-filtered variety, she increased her protein intake while reducing her sugar load. Nothing felt restrictive. Nothing felt complicated. Yet her glucose readings became noticeably more stable. And for older adults, that benefit becomes even more valuable. After the age of 60, muscle mass naturally begins to decline, while the body's ability to process carbohydrates often becomes less efficient. Higher protein milk helps support both challenges at the same time. So the next time you're shopping, take an extra moment to read the nutrition label. Look for higher protein, look for lower sugar, and remember, sometimes the most powerful health improvements don't come from eliminating foods you love. Sometimes they come from making a smarter version of the same choice. And that's exactly why lactose-free and ultra-filtered milk earn the number 5 spot on our list. Coming in at number 4, we're moving beyond protein alone and introducing something many people with type 2 diabetes rarely think about when it comes to blood sugar control: your gut. It may sound surprising, but some of the most important work happening inside your body doesn't take place in your pancreas, your liver, or even your bloodstream. It happens in the trillions of bacteria living inside your digestive system. And that's exactly why kefir and unsweetened drinkable yogurt deserve a place on this list. Unlike regular milk, these beverages go through a process called fermentation. During fermentation, beneficial bacteria consume part of the milk's natural sugars before you ever take your first sip. As a result, fermented dairy products often create a gentler blood sugar response compared to ordinary milk. But the benefits don't stop there. Those same beneficial bacteria, often called probiotics, may help support a healthier gut microbiome. And over the last decade, researchers have become increasingly interested in the relationship between gut health, inflammation, insulin sensitivity, and blood sugar control. In other words, when your gut is healthier, your metabolism may work more efficiently as well. Large observational studies have repeatedly found that people who regularly consume yogurt tend to have a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. While no single food can prevent or cure diabetes, these findings have encouraged scientists to take fermented dairy products much more seriously. Now imagine someone like Robert, a 70-year-old retiree who started every morning with a large glass of fruit juice. He believed he was making a healthy choice. After all, juice comes from fruit. But what he didn't realize was how quickly that liquid sugar was entering his bloodstream. One day, he decided to replace that juice with a small serving of plain kefir. The difference was remarkable. Instead of starting the day with a rapid glucose spike, he was getting protein, beneficial bacteria, and nutrients that helped keep him feeling satisfied longer. Even better, his digestion began to feel more comfortable and predictable. And that's especially important as we age. After the age of 65, the diversity of beneficial bacteria living in the gut naturally begins to decline. Researchers believe this decline may contribute to increased inflammation, reduced metabolic flexibility, and poorer blood sugar regulation over time. That's why supporting gut health becomes increasingly valuable with every passing decade. If you'd like to try this option, keep it simple. Choose plain kefir or unsweetened drinkable yogurt, not vanilla, not strawberry, not flavored. Many flavored versions contain surprisingly large amounts of added sugar that can quickly erase the benefits we're talking about. A small serving alongside breakfast or lunch is often all you need. Because sometimes improving blood sugar control isn't just about feeding yourself. It's also about feeding the helpful bacteria working quietly inside you every single day. Now we've reached number 3 on our list. And for some people watching today, this may end up being the easiest change you'll ever make. Unsweetened almond milk, no fancy ingredients, no complicated nutrition strategy. Just a simple swap that can quietly reduce the amount of sugar entering your body every single day. Here's what makes almond milk so appealing for people living with type 2 diabetes. Unlike traditional dairy milk, unsweetened almond milk contains very few carbohydrates, and as we've discussed, carbohydrates are the primary nutrient responsible for raising blood sugar levels. In many cases, unsweetened almond milk contains less than 1 gram of carbohydrate per 100 milliliters. That's incredibly low, which means when you pour it into your morning coffee, add it to your cereal, or blend it into a smoothie, you're introducing very little sugar into the equation. And sometimes those small reductions matter more than people realize. Think about someone like Emily. She's 57 years old and starts every morning with a large coffee, then another one after lunch, and often a third cup in the afternoon. Nothing unusual there. But what she didn't realize was that each cup contained a small amount of milk sugar. Not enough to cause alarm by itself, but enough to add up over weeks, months, and years. When she switched to unsweetened almond milk, she didn't feel like she was dieting. She didn't feel deprived. She simply removed a hidden source of carbohydrates that had quietly become part of her daily routine. And that's one of the greatest advantages of almond milk. It allows you to lower sugar intake without dramatically changing the foods and drinks you already enjoy. But there's one important detail you need to remember. Not all almond milk is created equal. In fact, some flavored versions contain surprising amounts of added sugar. Vanilla almond milk, chocolate almond milk, sweetened almond milk. These products can completely change the nutritional picture. That's why the word unsweetened is so important. Always check the label. Now, there is one limitation worth mentioning. Almond milk is naturally very low in protein, and as we age, protein becomes increasingly important for maintaining muscle strength, mobility, and overall health. So while almond milk is an excellent low-sugar option for coffee, tea, oatmeal, and smoothies, it shouldn't be your primary source of protein. Think of it as a smart supporting player, not the star of the team, because the next option on our list manages to deliver both very little sugar and plenty of high-quality protein, which is exactly why it earns the number 2 spot. We've now arrived at number 2 on our list. And for many people living with type 2 diabetes, this may be the single best all-around milk choice available today. Unsweetened soy milk. What makes soy milk so special isn't just one benefit. It's the fact that it manages to solve several problems at the same time. You see, many milk alternatives force you to make a trade-off. Some are low in sugar but contain very little protein. Others provide protein but come with more carbohydrates than you'd like. Soy milk is different. It delivers both a relatively low carbohydrate content and a surprisingly impressive amount of high-quality protein. And that combination matters more than most people realize. When you consume carbohydrates, your blood sugar begins to rise. But when protein is present alongside those carbohydrates, digestion slows down. The release of glucose becomes more gradual, helping your body handle the meal more efficiently. Think of it like pouring water into a glass. If you dump everything in at once, the glass overflows. But if the water enters slowly and steadily, the glass has time to adjust. That's exactly what protein helps your body do. And soy protein brings another advantage to the table. Unlike many plant-based proteins, soy contains all of the essential amino acids your body needs. In other words, it's considered a complete protein. That's important because maintaining muscle becomes increasingly difficult as we age. After the age of 60, muscle loss begins to accelerate for many adults. Strength decreases. Balance becomes less reliable. Everyday tasks can start to feel more demanding. Getting enough quality protein becomes one of the most important nutritional priorities later in life. But soy milk's benefits don't stop there. For people with type 2 diabetes, heart health is just as important as blood sugar control. In fact, cardiovascular disease remains one of the leading health risks associated with diabetes. This is where soy continues to stand out. Research has consistently shown that soy-based foods may help improve cholesterol levels, particularly LDL cholesterol, often referred to as bad cholesterol. Imagine someone like Michael, a 68-year-old retired teacher managing both diabetes and elevated cholesterol. His doctor encouraged him to pay closer attention not only to his blood sugar, but also to his heart health. Rather than making a dramatic change, Michael simply switched from regular milk products to unsweetened fortified soy milk. The adjustment felt small, but over time, he was supporting 2 important goals at once. More stable nutrition for blood sugar management and a dietary pattern that could benefit cardiovascular health. If you decide to try soy milk, choose an unsweetened version whenever possible. And look for one that has been fortified with calcium and vitamin B12. These nutrients are especially important if soy milk becomes a regular replacement for dairy in your diet. The reason soy milk earns the number 2 spot is simple. It offers one of the most balanced nutritional profiles in the entire milk aisle. But even soy milk isn't our number 1 recommendation, because the most powerful strategy isn't about what milk you buy. It's about how and when you drink it, and that's where we're headed next. And now we've arrived at the number 1 spot. The recommendation supported by some of the strongest research in today's entire video. But here's what surprises most people. It's not a special brand of milk, it's not an expensive supplement, and it's certainly not a miracle cure. In fact, the most powerful strategy may already be sitting in your refrigerator right now. The real game changer isn't what milk you drink, it's when you drink it. Researchers call this approach a protein preload, and once you understand how it works, you'll see why scientists have become so interested in it. The concept is remarkably simple. Before eating a meal that contains a significant amount of carbohydrates, you drink a small serving of unsweetened, high-protein milk, ideally about 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. That's it, no complicated meal plans, no strict food restrictions, just a small change in timing. But inside your body, something fascinating begins to happen. When protein reaches your digestive system before carbohydrates arrive, it sends a signal that helps prepare your body for what's coming next. Hormones are released, digestion slows slightly, and your insulin response becomes more organized and efficient. Think of it like preparing for a busy day. If guests suddenly arrive at your house without warning, everything feels rushed and chaotic. But if you know they're coming ahead of time, you can prepare, the house is ready, the food is ready, everything runs more smoothly. your body works in a similar way. When carbohydrates arrive unexpectedly, blood sugar can rise quickly. But when protein shows up first, your body receives advance notice. The result is often a slower, steadier release of glucose into the bloodstream. And that's exactly what many people with type 2 diabetes are hoping to achieve. What makes this strategy especially compelling is the research behind it. Clinical studies have shown that consuming whey protein before a carbohydrate-rich meal can significantly reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. Participants experience lower peak glucose levels and improved blood sugar control during the hours that followed. And here's the remarkable part. The protein used in these studies wasn't enormous. We're not talking about giant shakes or expensive products. Just a modest serving taken before the meal. Now imagine someone like Patricia. She's 73 years old and has struggled with elevated morning blood sugar for years. Every day seemed to follow the same pattern. Breakfast would come, her glucose levels would climb, and despite her best efforts, she felt frustrated by the numbers she kept seeing. Then she learned about the protein preload strategy. Instead of changing her breakfast completely, she made one small adjustment. 10 minutes before eating, she drank a small glass of unsweetened high-protein milk. Her oatmeal stayed the same, her routine stayed the same, her kitchen stayed the same. The only thing that changed was the order, and over time, her mornings began to feel different. The blood sugar spikes became less dramatic. The roller coaster felt less intense. And perhaps most importantly, the strategy felt realistic enough to continue. That's what makes this approach so powerful. It's practical, it's affordable, and it works with the foods people are already eating. For older adults, the benefits may be even more meaningful. As we age, the body's early insulin response naturally becomes less efficient. The system still works, but often not as quickly or as effectively as it once did. A protein preload helps provide that gentle nudge. It gives your body a head start before the carbohydrates arrive. So here's a challenge I'd like you to try. Tomorrow morning, before your highest carbohydrate meal of the day, drink a small glass of unsweetened soy milk or high-protein, ultra-filtered milk. Wait about 5 to 10 minutes. Then eat your meal as usual. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. Just one simple experiment. Because after everything we've discussed today, this is where all the pieces come together. The protein from our earlier recommendations, the smarter milk choices, the lower sugar options. They all become even more effective when paired with the right timing. And that's why the protein preload strategy earns the #1 spot on our list. So, let's bring everything together. Today we've looked at 5 different approaches that can help people with type 2 diabetes make smarter choices in the milk aisle. At number 5, we had lactose-free and ultra-filtered milk, offering more protein and less sugar while allowing many people to continue enjoying dairy. At number 4, we explored kefir and unsweetened drinkable yogurt, bringing the added benefits of probiotics and gut health support into the picture. At number 3 was unsweetened almond milk, an incredibly low-carbohydrate option that can quietly reduce daily sugar intake without requiring major lifestyle changes. At number 2, we talked about unsweetened soy milk, perhaps the most balanced option available, combining high-quality protein with potential benefits for heart health. And finally, at number 1, the strategy that stood above everything else, the protein preload, a simple change in timing that may help your body handle carbohydrates more effectively and support steadier blood sugar levels throughout the day. But if there's one message I hope you remember after this video, it's this: there is no miracle milk. There is no single drink that reverses diabetes overnight. Anyone promising that is selling a fantasy, not science. Real progress usually happens differently. It comes from small decisions, small habits, small improvements repeated day after day. And that's actually good news, because it means you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to change everything at once. You simply need to keep moving in the right direction. Whether you're 50 years old, 70 years old, or well into your 80s, your body still has the ability to benefit from better choices. Every healthier meal matters. Every steadier blood sugar reading matters. Every positive step matters. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which milk option from today's list surprised you the most? And which one are you planning to try first? Share your answer in the comments below, because your experience might help someone else who's watching this video and facing the very same challenges. If you found this information helpful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Health with Dr. D. Miller, and turn on notifications so you never miss future evidence-based health content. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.